been born and brought up in Bombay. I went to Bombay Scottish for my schooling. I went to HR college and did my bachelor's in accounting and finance. Then I worked with a private equity firm for about 2 years and applied to NUS and got in. So Singapore is in a way a representative of Asia in the larger sense, and I wanted to understand a lot about the Asian culture, and because I think more than anything, it sort of is the next wave of where the economic activity lies, and I felt it would be the right place. Plus, it's a great city. It's amazing to live in Singapore, and I have no regrets. So the cost is definitely a big added advantage because you're not investing as much as you would invest in, say, a US or a UK. It's Asian prices, but with international quality education. Singapore is a cosmopolitan city, so it gives you everything that probably a US would in terms of exposure to international standards, etc. And yes, at probably a fraction of the cost. So among the other colleges that I had applied to would be Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. I had applied to ISB and NUS. I was very focused on doing something from Asia. I was pretty sure that my future and my career would be very focused on the Asian countries, and hence NUS would be my top choice. So it's so the application process is extremely simple. You have to get ready with your GMAT score. You have to have your MBA application ready, which includes your essays, etc. There are about 2 application rounds. You need to make sure that you have your recommendations in place. I believe you need about 2 to 3 recommendations. But it's a very standard application procedure. I believe you need to write about 3 or 4 essays. So in my class, the average GMAT score was about 700. They definitely focus on a high GMAT score. I would urge everybody to work very hard for that. But they're also looking for is the extra. So if say you have a 680, it does not mean that you don't stand a chance, because you could have done something excellent in your life which could push you above the others who are with a 700 GMAT. So it's all about finding what you have done in your life, introspecting on how you could position a great. It could be a CSR activity, it could be a leadership position, it could be just winning a championship trophy. Anything that you could display and say, and this is my story, and push that about could get you ahead of the curve. So one more person I can speak about is a classmate of mine, and he was about 40 years old, and he came he was a Navy officer, and he had just come to restart his life. And today he is he's just photographing. So his shift was from being a Navy officer to now he is a very good photographer. He's got his own photography website, and he's definitely on route to success. NUS is not looking for any particular, they don't have a standard formula that you need to be XYZ. What they're essentially looking for is to get a very diverse bunch of different people with different skill sets into a cohort and put them together. So you could be a graduate from IIT and have done some fantastic coding or created some applications, or you could be somebody who's an advertising person and who's created fantastic ads. So what they're looking for is the fact that whatever you've done in your life, you've gone the extra mile to make sure that you've done good out of it. So you need to bring that out in your application, and if you've done anything like that, it would be definite that you would stand a good chance. You have this concept of doing a double degree program or doing a cross-faculty program. So NUS has multiple faculties. It's a university in itself. It's not just a business school. So you have School of Architecture, you have School of Public Policy, School of Dance, School of Literature, Law, etc., all in one big campus. And you have the option to actually do a cross-faculty program. So if you do your research, you could actually learn public policy and marketing and finance, and make a great mix of subjects and see what you want to do with your life next. My personal experience has been that if you talk about the MBA program in general, it has so much to offer you, more than studying in the class. It's about interacting with people sitting in a classroom outside while working on a high stress deadline. They're working in different scenarios, like a competition, or just going out there and doing some CSR activity. or visiting a company or applying for your internship. There is so many different aspects to the program as such that one of the biggest things that I have learned is you should do your MBA when you're actually prepared to do your MBA, not when you're like on a deadline and saying that, okay, I need to move into an associate role by the age of 24, or I need to get to a certain place. Because it's only when you're prepared to go for this program will you be able to extract as much as it can offer. So for the NUS MBA in particular, I'd say definitely do your research again, because it has a lot to offer, especially in terms of exchange programs. So if you just sit back and say, okay, these are the potential opportunities that I can have to go on exchange. You could go to Germany, you could go to Cornell, you could go to IE. All these different programs can it's just an extension of greater exposure that you can get through your NUS MBA, and it could just make a fantastic experience overall. So definitely, when you're applying, do your research on what you want to do. Start well in advance on your essays, and more than anything, you make sure that you've got your career experience in place. So you could have done something as simple as writing an article, illustrating something. For you, it may just be something as simple as writing an article, but for the person who's reading your application, it could mean a lot. So it's all about how you position every aspect of your work experience. Another thing that I'd like to speak about is don't rush into the MBA. Make sure that you have as much experience as you can from the current position that you're in, and that there is nothing more left to learn from that, and then go for it. So when I applied to NUS, I was pretty sure that I wanted to move up to the next step in finance, and I wanted to do a lot more than I was able to at that current position. I also wanted to explore other areas of which I could be good at. So I was happy and I was very content with what I had done for 2 years at the fund that I was working at, and I was ready to move to the next step, which is when I decided to apply and got through. Is a lot more better as compared to, if you're comparing it to India. They're far ahead of us in terms of science and technology, business as well. Now specifically talking about NUS, it's a very typical BBA program and then an MBA program. It's very academically oriented, so yes, it is very competitive. You do have to study hard to get high grades, because everybody out there is looking at working hard and scoring high. The good thing about that place is it's open. It's very US based, so you will have your group study, you will have project work, you will have internships. So it's not just textbooks. It's all about experiential learning. So it's open and you can make the most of it. So the good thing about studying in Singapore is it's very close to India. So if you want to ever come back, it's possible. It's a very safe place. It's very easy. You can go running at 2 a.m. in the morning, and you will find people doing the same. Not that I'm encouraging it, but you can do that. It's accessible, it's easy, it's convenient. So all that is taken care of. At the undergrad level, you have a lot of great hostel facilities. It's very convenient. The education is fantastic in terms of the quality, in terms of the professors, in terms of the exposure to experiential learning. So you're not just sticking to your textbooks, you're actually going out there and seeing what is it that you're actually learning. You're doing projects, you're going on study trips, you're actually going and meeting companies and working together with companies on projects. The exposure by way of clubs, etc. is fantastic. So apart from NUS, which offers different faculties like architecture, science, technology, law, etc., which I mentioned earlier, there is also Nanyang Technical University. There is Singapore Management University. To name a few, I think these are the top-rated universities in Singapore. But from what I believe, NUS is by far the largest in terms of what it has to offer. The other good thing about studying in Singapore is the fact that it's extremely diverse. So when you're sitting in your class, you're surrounded with people from America, from Europe, from Germany, from Korea, China, all over the world, and it's something that Singapore is known for. It's a hub, it's a metropolitan, and it's essentially known as a melting pot of cultures. So there is not one particular community or culture which is dominant, other than of course the Singaporean culture, but you're getting to study and work with pretty much the whole world in a small place. So in terms of adjusting to the academic life, there was not much adjusting required. It's very easy, especially if you're going from India. It's very easy to flow into that system. It's pretty much what you do in an MBA here, except that it's much better, in my opinion, because the exposure that it provides is fantastic. The quality, the opportunities to do work, etc., is far better than what you get in say in India, and that's my personal experience out of it. It's also a very safe place. So NUS has everything on campus. You've got your canteen systems. You can't be staying on campus if you're a single person, because they have limited accommodation for MBA students in particular. But it's very easy to find excellent accommodation in a condominium very close to school. You can walk up, you can take the bus. You have all the convenience out there. So it's just very easy to do your MBA there. So in terms of what they offer to study, the program is structured such that you have to finish about 36 modular credits, and about one course would be 4 modular credits. So you need to finish at least about 5 core courses, which is not an option. You need to take up those courses. So if you're doing your MBA, they would cover all your basics. They would have marketing, you would have statistics, you would have finance, which is your basic finance and accounting, Asia Pacific business, because they're kind of focusing on giving you a good perspective on Asia as such. Now the good thing about the NUS MBA in particular is you can do all these courses over a period of 3 semesters, which means that say in the first semester you may want to finish all 5 essential courses in the first semester, and then the rest of the other core courses you could do it over 2 semesters, and then take your electives. Now in terms of electives, I believe the specializations that they offer are finance, healthcare management, real estate management, marketing, and strategy and operations. These are the 5 core specializations, and there is no need to only pick one specialization. You can choose your electives. You have to bid. There will be a deadline given, and I believe it's just about who bids first. Mostly everybody's requirements are fulfilled. So if there is a large demand for a course, then there probably would be an extra class to accommodate those extra students required. From my experience, the bidding is based more on how good the professor is. For instance, there was this advanced corporate finance course that was offered by a very good professor, and everybody wanted to do that, irrespective of whether they were specializing in finance or not, because they got to learn such good things from him. So there was an extra class that was accommodated. So that's something that people should keep in mind, that when you're selecting your courses, it's always good to also know how good the professor is. So the program, it's very flexible. You can finish the program in the span of 12 months or 17 months, which is the norm, which is 17 months would equate to 3 semesters, including a summer internship program, or you could spread it over 24 months. So you have different requirements. So if you have, say, for instance, we had a married couple on campus who decided to have a baby during their MBA. So the lady decided to finish the program over 2 years. And it was very convenient for her because she had her husband, studying, and she had finished her core courses, and one more thing striked off. So other than the specializations offered like marketing, finance, etc., you could also mix in a double degree program. You could do an S3 MBA, which is basically an MBA from 3 different colleges. So I believe it's Korea, Singapore, and China, if I'm not mistaken. So you finish your MBA 3 semesters over 3 different countries. Your double degree would probably be with an HEC Paris. So you have your HEC Paris and your NUS MBA. There is a Peking University with NUS MBA. There are different types of customizations that you could do with your MBA. But to name a few, you could do a double degree with different universities, or within NUS, you could do say with the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy and the MBA. You could mix your courses like that. Or if you want to do an elective from, say, a law school, you could even take that up. So the opportunities that the course offers, by the sheer fact that it's so well connected with so many things, is fantastic. The program typically starts in August and ends, if you're doing a 17-month program, then you would finish your course by late November the next year or early December. If you're accelerating your MBA, then you could be done maybe by either April or May the next year. So it all basically depends on what you want to do and how you want to structure it to your advantage. And if you're extending it, then you'll probably finish in July the next year. So say if you started in 2008 August, you would finish in July 2010. That's how it would work. So when they're looking at grading you as a student, we're basically looking at how good you are at your studies. They're looking at, so it is very competitive, and you will be graded, there will be a lot of competition because you will be graded based on how other people do, and I will speak about that later. The other thing that they're looking for is how good are you with your class participation. So you have to be able to speak about the subject that you're studying. You have to have some point of view. What else can you bring to the class from your prior experience, or have you read something, or are you curious about what's happening in the real world? When we got into our MBA program, it was when the entire Lehman crisis happened. And unfortunately we were studying finance at that time, I was at least, and it was interesting to understand what triggered the entire global fiasco, and so it was interesting discussions in the MBA lounge. So this is not just studying inside the classroom, this is outside the classroom where you're just relaxing and taking breaks between your classes. You're actually talking to fellow students, reading the Financial Times and trying to understand what is it, and then you take this discussion back to your classroom. So you're graded on your ability to actually bring real life situations to the table. Okay, so that's class participation. Apart from that, what was very interesting was our project work. Let me talk about our marketing project. A lot of emphasis was given to how people performed in our marketing projects, and people would do interesting things like enact plays or create videos and come up with different kinds of concepts. I remember one class had a fashion show to kind of discuss certain marketing aspects. Once our statistics project had someone creating an analysis of M&Ms and different colors and their combinations and things like that. So it was very fascinating, and I think it would be good for everybody to give everything as much importance, because it's a part of evolving as a student and getting most out of the program. In terms of the grading, now you are graded based on relativity, which is basically like a bell curve. So for instance, if say you scored 30 on 50, and I'm giving very random numbers, and if somebody else scored 40 on 50, the person would be graded at higher than you. So there's a concept called a cap score, and based on all your scores, you are given one cap number, which would say be a 3.5. It's between a 1 and a 5, 5 being the best and 1 being the worst, and you have to figure out. So the average would be anywhere between a 3.5 and a 4. That would mean you're lying in the middle of the bell curve. That's where you are in the middle of the class, and there are outliers on either side. So there are people who excel, which means they score full marks in pretty much every assessment, everything, and they would be at a 5. And then you've got the other end, which would be at a lower score. So it's all about where you fit in your class compared to everybody else. Now that is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it pushes you to completely compete and put in your best, and kind of learn the whole knack of competition, which is the core of an MBA. But what may not be fair is, you may be great in marketing, but you may not be as good at statistics. So that's where you kind of lose out. And that's where it sort of is a little skewed. Nevertheless, I think overall things get averaged out because you choose your electives based on your strengths and you end up performing well in them. So it's all averaged out. So a very simple way to graduate with honors is to make sure that you do your best. Make sure you're there for pretty much all classes. There is no need to bunk because it's not much to it is a lot of effort, but it's not like you're not doing something you want to do. Make sure you have sensible class participation and not just raising hands and making a point because you need to. Be very attentive on the assessments in terms of your short-term assessments that you've got, like your class tests that keep getting conducted. whatever take-home exams, make sure you're meeting them within deadline. Also, when you're participating in a group activity, there will be a feedback round, that your peers will have to give a feedback on how you perform. So you can't be free riding on anybody. It's a very open system. You will have to make sure that you contribute. So it's very simple. Do your work and make sure you do it to your best. That's the best that you can do to perform well. So there's a concept called the Dean's List. So if you're one of the excellent performers of the group, then you make it there, or you've done some significant contribution in terms of, say, been the president of Students' Council and got about a lot of change and revolutionary contributions, then yes, you do make it to that Dean's List. So it's basically you're judged on your contribution to the school and your academic performance. There are a lot of awards as well that are in place. So in terms of scholarship, you could even get, like, I believe there is a PE award, which is given to people who are interested in the private equity industry and who have performed really well in their academics over the course of their program at NUS. So if you look at the pool of students who studied with me, at least at the NUS MBA, I was competing or in class with IIT graduates who had never done accounting in their life before, but within one class were able to kick my ass at accounts, and they're that good. So let me speak about how good one particular person is. He's from IIT. He's done his IT. Basically, he worked in the IT sector before joining the MBA, and today he is the Associate Director at Daiwa Securities, which is an investment bank in Singapore. He has done exceptionally well for himself. He was somebody who would just crack all our microeconomic cases, and that would be very difficult work because the quant part of microeconomics is very difficult, at least for somebody like me. You need to have a very analytical brain to be able to deal with that. A few other people there were a lot of engineers in our batch. There were chartered accountants, doctors, a lot of very well-educated and academically very strong individuals from China and Korea who we were competing with. So it was very difficult. In fact, it was a lot more difficult than I expected in terms of doing well in class. So it's something that everybody should be prepared for. You're given preparatory videos on stats. I would encourage everybody to go through those videos once you apply and get in. So in terms of our professors, we've got a very healthy mix of professors. Some of my favorites were a professor in macroeconomics who is now the advisor to the IMF. And in all of them were very approachable. So you just have to give them an appointment and tell them, I need to discuss a particular thing, and they will give it to you, and it's an open door policy. You could even take them for a coffee in the cafeteria and have a discussion with them on any problems that you're having, and they would be more than happy to help you. A lot of our professors also write books and research materials, and they do hands-on research. They're advisors, they're consultants. So there's a lot more that we could learn even outside the classroom from them based on their experience and their understanding. There was a professor called Professor Aaron Lowe, who travels across the world, and he taught us fund management. And there was an active fund management portal we actually had to trade. And that was very fascinating. That's a subject, that was one of my favorite subjects that I learned. And it was very easy to just reach him on email, maybe not personally because he was traveling a lot, but he was very accessible and he was very forthright. If not him, then his assistant would definitely make sure that all our queries were answered. Culture is largely dominated by sports. They're in fact, not just NUS, it's a Singapore culture. They're very health conscious. So, and on our campus, you have every facility available. You have canoeing, you have tennis, you have badminton, basketball, throwball, ping pong, everything that you can name, squash, swimming. You've got like Olympic-sized swimming pools that you could use. So every single facility is available. It's encouraged. There are adequate opportunities both by the undergrad and the postgrad where you can participate. A lot of marathon sessions are held. They have a lot of these charity runs. So it's if you're up there and you're interested in participating, then you're definitely encouraged. So in terms of extracurricular activities, you've got clubs for every different faculty. So you've got a marketing club, you've got a finance club, you've got knowledge management, cultural activities. So you can go out there and there is a system where you need to, if you want to head the club, then you need to stand for an election, and you need to have your pitch ready and your campaign, and people need to vote for you. So it's very interesting because there's a learning involved even in that. Of the different clubs that we have present, you've got academic-oriented clubs like your finance club, consultant club, marketing club, and you've got entrepreneurship club. You've also got things like social impact and the social impact club, your knowledge management club, etc. So I was very, given my finance background, I was very involved with finance and social impact. And I'll speak, so finance is more about a livestock pitch competition. So I was actively involved with the finance club, and they have, among the different events, like they'll have a private equity talk where they'll involve a series of speakers from different private equity funds. You also have a livestock pitch competition where it's a live simulation where you need to pick stocks and you need to defend why you are picking them. It goes on over a certain period of time, and you need to actively trade, and the person who makes the most amount of money is deemed to be the winner. So the livestock pitch competition is actually it's something which happens across schools. It happens at NUS, and it's supported by Camry, which is basically a center that looks into assessing different stocks. It talks about long short investments and different types of insights into finance, and you actually have a simulation room where you can go out there and use Bloomberg terminals and practice on your stock pitching abilities, trading abilities, etc. And you are guided by a very well supported team. I think more details of this are definitely available on the website, and professors are very easy to approach. You've got a fantastic board that supports Camry. So that's the big thing that Finance Club does. The Consulting Club does different assignments or projects, and likewise the Social Impact Club does things like they would go to Philippines, and they would help with rehabilitating a particular area, a slum area or something. So that was very fascinating. My year was the first year where the Social Impact Club was brought in by a doctor, a fellow student who's a doctor. It was very good to join that club. It teaches you a lot about CSR activities, and it makes you realize what is it that you need to do in terms of a citizen. What should your contribution be to society? In terms of sports, you've got a lot of interesting activities that are organized. You've got football matches that are organized between, say, the current students and the ex-students, or the current students and say another football team from, say, Standard Chartered or something. So this is football, you've got softball and different kinds of matches that every cohort decides to at any given point in time. So every cohort has their own choices, and whatever match they decide to kind of put in place, there is a club in place for this. So in terms of socializing, we have, well, to begin with, a lot of parties which are welcome parties which are thrown by the school. So you'll have a party conducted at, say, Sentosa. A lot of brewery parties. You have this thing. They have beer parties for say a German festival, like a German drinking festival. And so the school makes sure that there is something going on through the year. Apart from that, on a regular basis, you have you're going to your friend's place for like house parties, poker parties, etc. And then there is Singapore, where you explore, you go clubbing, you go to Clarke Quay, which is a very famous junction of all your different theme clubs in one place. And then you've got different bars. You've got the Asia bar, which is on a very high floor in one of the hotels. You've now got Marina Bay Sands. Sentosa is also another place that you can go to. There's Cafe Del Mar there, which is very famous. First of all, I think to speak about part-time jobs, you have the concept of a part-time MBA where people are working, are full-time employed, and then doing their MBA on a part-time basis. I believe they take about 2 years to finish their program. Apart from that, if you're a full-time student, then it is not recommended that you do a full-time job, a part-time job, at least during the first semester, because if you're an international student, you are adjusting with a new city, and the pressure is very high. But if you decide to spread your electives over, say, the next 2 semesters, then yes, there is the opportunity to take up part-time courses. NUS, in fact, itself does offer opportunities to employ students with it. So say in the administration office, you could be employed with them, or in an incubation cell to do a project. It's very interesting. There are a lot of opportunities out there if you just want to go out, take the initiative and pitch for them. So as far as the postgrad program is concerned, the accommodation is limited. On campus, where the hostel facilities provided by the college are largely for the undergrads. So they have a restriction where only if you're married you can use the facilities for using, the married students can use it because it's lesser in number. And also if you have kids, then it's easier and it's accessible. Apart from that, the school does tie up with hostels across Singapore, and that is offered. So a lot of students choose to take that up. And then there's a whole different set of students that chooses to live independently off campus in areas around the campus, which is very interesting because it's very easy to kind of find accommodation in Singapore. It's all available online. Rentals are very easy to execute, and I don't think, at least from my cohort, anyone had a problem as such finding an apartment and getting your students in place. And kind of getting that executed. So in terms of off-campus accommodation, a lot of it is available right within walking distance of the school. So you can walk to and fro classes. You can even go home during your your breaks if you want to just take a break or work from home or anything. So it's very easy and very accessible. Food is very easily available on campus, so I don't think anyone cooks as such, but people choose to go back to their homes and kind of cook out of home or at their hostel. It's possible. But at the accommodation provided by the school, cooking may or may not be possible. There is a central kitchen, so you can use it. It's a shared basis. But maybe if you have a larger apartment, you could have a kitchen appended to it. But I'm not sure if that's available for all facilities. So you'll have to get that insured and checked. So for food, which is, the essential, it's all very easily available on campus. You've got different cuisines. You've got Lebanese, Indian, you've got Vietnamese, Chinese. It's not Indian Chinese, it's authentic Chinese, but different kinds of, you've got fruits, breakfast, all of it available on campus. So there's nothing that you don't have. There's a McDonald's on campus, maybe not in the business school, but at a distance. But pretty much everything available on campus. Restaurants, all of it. Which is why one would not choose to cook if you're pressed for time. But a lot of people do end up cooking. Because they miss home cooked food, so that's how it goes. So it's very easy to find accommodation off campus if you're not married, and if you don't want to you choose not to take the accommodation offered by the affiliated hostel, then all you need to do is you need to go online. There are enough options out there where you can actually see photographs of people of different places that you could connect to, and you could connect with their brokers and their owners, etc., and negotiate a lease. The best advice that I could give is to connect with fellow students from your city and work together on finding, if you've identified people you want to stay with, then it would just be the best thing for you, because that's what I did. I found my flatmate sitting in Bombay, and we negotiated rentals sitting in Bombay because we had a friend in Singapore who identified different apartments, sent us photographs, and that we negotiated the lease, and within ourselves who would pay how much rent sitting in Bombay in our own houses. So it's that convenient and possible to do it if you just put in the effort. So Singapore as a place in itself is very safe, but having said that, it's always good to be alert. You can't just be walking, but it's very safe. I've seen people running at 2 a.m. in the morning, and there's no problem as such. Plus, cabs are available on call. They come right below your building and drop you right below your building. So there's nothing where you can be possibly lost in a place. You just have to know the right numbers, that's it. So to elaborate a little bit about the safety that we have on campus, there is an on-campus police service available. Security guards are available all the time and easily accessible. So NUS does pay a very great emphasis on the security of its students. If there is any red flag event, then it's highlighted to one and all, and everybody is alerted on campus, though at least during my time there were very few such instances which we got to hear of. The police is there. Very rarely do you see Singapore police on the roads because the crime rate is not very high, but they're very vigilant and they're pretty much there, and they will do a very good job of inquiring and getting to the point. So in terms of safety, it's very good. Apart from that, you've got a shuttle service on campus. If you're using the hostel facilities, then there is a scheduled service available. The buses will come, pick you up from point A to point B. There are bus stops across the university. So you will need to find out what route you will need to take and what time your bus comes. So it's very easy to get across campus. You can also have the shuttle service available. So if you're having an off-campus accommodation, toward the hostel affiliated with the college, then they will have the shuttle going there maybe once in the morning, once in the evening. You just need to make sure you get the timing right. The other option that you can take is the bus, the normal Singapore travel bus, which is very easy because it pretty much got the service going from one place to another. You've got the easy access cards that you need to take. It's like a prepaid card which works on your bus and your MRT. So that's best to use for that. I believe the bus service stops at about 12 in the night and starts early in the morning. I'm not sure what time. So apart from the bus and the shuttle service, etc., and the MRT, of course, you've got the cab service which you could use. You can call a cab, which is a slightly extra fee if you call it, but adequate cabs are available to hail down. And I think a minimum fee is about 3.5 Sing dollars, and it costs, from, say, if you're living around campus, it could cost anywhere between $5 to $7 to get that, Sing dollars. Singapore being as centrally located as it is, it's got access to a lot of islands. You've got Langkawi, Bintan, which is a jetty right away. You can take a quick flight to Langkawi. You can drive down to Malaysia. There is Koh Samui, which is supposed to be very, very nice, which I missed visiting, but I would encourage everybody because I've heard such great things about it. You've got amazing number of islands. You can take a flight to Thailand and then be back. Bali is very close, and everybody must do Bali because it's a short flight away. You've got a lot of low-cost airlines. So one thing one must do, other than exploring Singapore in itself now with Marina Bay Sands, etc., just is to explore all areas around Singapore. But because that's the most important part of being so centrally located. You could go to Vietnam and come back. Cambodia, people have just gone to the Angkor Wat and spoken about it, and it's been fascinating to hear about it. So in terms of the available options to travel within Singapore, you've got the MRT, which is the most easily accessible thing. You can go from point A to point B very easily. You've got different routes. You've got the blue line, you've got the purple line, the red line, and understanding that is very easy because you've got enough number of maps available which will show you how to use the system. It's very easy to understand. So that you can get off from your western suburbs right into Orchard and get off at Orchard Road Station very easily, and that's where most of the people spend their time as well if they want to shop. So if you want to travel to Sentosa, the best way I guess would be through a cab, but the MRT overall, in order to travel across Singapore, the MRT is the best way possible, the most economical way possible. As a country, Singapore offers an amazing opportunity to just use it as a hub that it actually is. And you can see all of Asia. You could travel to Japan. You could even you could see all of Southeast Asia and explore it not just as a tourist, which I would encourage that everyone does, but also as a professional, because your companies which are present in Singapore would give you the opportunity to travel to all these places because that's where their operations would span. Singapore is just like the central hub, the most cosmopolitan city that we have on this side of Asia, and that sort of represents all of the different cultures of Asia put together. So if you look at the NUS class composition as such, you have they lay a lot of emphasis on diversity. So you will not find more than a certain percentage of people from a particular country. They will make sure that you have a combination of people from across the country. So you'll have probably a cap of maybe 10 to 15% of locals, and the rest are from all across the world. So you've got Americans, Indians, Chinese, Germans, etc. And also the interesting thing about NUS, at least the MBA program, is it's affiliated to so many other programs. So there is this thing called the CEMS. So it's basically where people, young people study across different countries and then do part of their semester at at the NUS MBA. So we had people coming from Belgium, from who've probably done their one course in Scandinavia or Norway, and just coming down here for one semester. And that was very interesting because you got to interact with a lot of culturally diverse people. Overall, if you look at the culture in Singapore, and if you look at it just from the undergrad level, it's very relaxed. So you're not like dressing up and going to a particular place. You're not dressing up and going to college. People are very fun and interested in you'll see girls wearing different types of things. But it's very relaxed and laid back, a very typical college environment. So in my class, I think the cultural diversity was largely dominated by a lot of Chinese, Koreans and Indians. But apart from that, you also had people from the UK, from the States, from Australia, etc. coming in. But as I see, because the structure of the program is such that you get to experience one semester of the next batch, it was increasingly becoming a lot more diverse, and they had put a cap on the number of students they'd take in from one particular community or one particular continent. So while my course was predominantly Indian and Chinese, I believe they're definitely moving towards a more diverse program. In terms of their focus on cultural diversity overall in Singapore, yes, a lot of emphasis is paid because by its very nature, because Singapore has so many different cultures coming in, you have people from across the world living there. So a lot of different people come and study in that program. Yes, it is also dominated by Indians to a certain extent, but adequately it's kind of made up for because you've got other cultures as well. So I don't think there is any one culture that we can speak about that stands apart. The good thing is that yes, you will always find your Indian friends to connect with. In terms of giving emphasis to different cultural festivals or activities you have the school plays a very important role. Every Indian festival is celebrated to begin with. So you've got Holi, which is celebrated very well. It's organized by the Indian students, and the international students play a very active role in having fun and enjoying the festival. Diwali is celebrated elaborately. We've got the Chinese New Year, which is celebrated a lot, and the most important day, I think, the one that I enjoyed the most, was the International Day. Now back in our time, you had a very good friend of mine from Pakistan who took to the stage and sung this amazing song, and you had every Chinese girl or every international girl who had not heard the song before become a big fan of his. He took to the stage, played his guitar and sung that, and that's definitely a memory we all cherish. Apart from that, you've got people who display their local talents on stage. So I remember we had the Koreans having this martial arts display on stage, and you had the Indians perform, you had the Chinese perform to a beautiful number, to their local number. So it's very fascinating to experience that day, and everybody comes in their local attires. So the Indians were dressed in like churidars, the girls were in churidars, the men were dressed in Indian attire. Within India also, if you've got people from South India, they were wearing their local attire. So it's very fascinating to experience that. So what was fascinating during my program at the MBA was when we were working with say a Chinese and a Japanese and an Indonesian and an Indian and a European in the same project. What was interesting was the different ways in which people would communicate, negotiate, their cultural aspects that would come in. How one person would just kind of sit apart and let the negotiations happen, and then probably come in towards the end. While one person on the other hand would want to just stay out there and make their point. And then you've got the Indian mentality to just dominate everything. So that was fascinating, and it was very interesting. Because the focus that they have on the Asia Pacific region, to understand how is it that different cultures in Asia actually work. And that, just sitting in a room across with these people, was definitely a fantastic learning experience. My first project was with a Pakistani friend who was very close to me now, and then there is somebody from China. And it was interesting, there were two Chinese people actually in the group, how they would discuss within themselves and come to conclusions within themselves, and then kind of come about and negotiate with the entire group. So it was all a lot of fun and interesting, because we got to learn so much about everything in the world just by sitting with them. And that was the best learning experience that I got from NUS. Bank account, definitely. I would recommend that. Actually, it's an essential, because you will need to get your money transferred to the bank account. I would recommend DBS simply because they've got ATMs all over the place, and it's very easy to kind of get that done. All of us on campus had accounts with the DBS bank. In terms of insurance, it's through the application procedure itself that NUS ensures that the students have got their health insurance during that time. So the health care facilities on campus are amazing. I remember I fell ill once because I got a viral and I had to go to the campus hospital, and it was so easy and functional and good that it didn't feel like I was in a hospital to begin with, and the doctors were so helpful. So if you're ever unwell and in Singapore, I don't think there's anything to worry about as such, because the doctors are very, very good with their work, and it's not expensive at all. It's all discounted facilities for students, so that's that. I think the only thing I recommend is students take Maggi from India, because you will not have time to cook initially, but there's adequate food available, so I don't think that should be a problem. But in terms of buying things, I don't think there's a requirement. I also had taken a lot of vessels, etc., which my mom had insisted I carry, and I had taken like raw ingredients and things like that. But it's all so easily available at all the supermarkets out there. You've got Fair Price, you've got other different kinds of supermarkets, so it's just very easily available, and all of it is available. So I think it's just take your bags, pack them, because you've got a limit on your luggage, so just go there and have fun. So in terms of the cuisines available on campus, there were adequate cuisines available. You've got, typically we would have our lunch on campus, and then we would go to the hostel, which is a shuttle ride away, and have our meals there, because you've got two massive cafeterias there, and meals are discounted. A lot of my friends were vegetarian. I don't think they had a major problem, because you have enough catering to the vegetarian people, so I don't think there is a major problem as such. It's always safer to just have your Maggi and cook your basic essentials at home if required. Vegetables are available easily in the supermarket, so not a problem at all. In terms of other restaurants, you've got restaurants across price bands. You've got really luxury restaurants. I remember Goodwood Park, which is a hotel on Orchard Road, had a fantastic Chinese restaurant. Dempsey Hill is very famous with its restaurants. And then you've got your hawker centers, which there's this concept called long queue. So people who have stalls which have long queues are supposed to be serving the best kind of food, and that's very easy and affordable if you're traveling. So I don't think there is any question on food. I don't believe there is a culture to cook in Singapore, especially your lunch meals, because there's so much available so easily, and it's also safe that nobody really cooks their lunch out there. So if I were to speak about my experience in Singapore as an international student there, I'd just say that it's a home away from home. At least for as far as Indians are concerned. I lived in a fantastic condominium, and I had a swimming pool there. I had a squash court there if I ever wanted to use it, and it was so convenient getting to and from college. It was just fantastic. So I don't think I miss my NUS experience, because it was so comfortable. We sort of graduated in the midst of a very difficult financial crisis. So in terms of opportunities available to us, it was, I'll be very honest, it was not fantastic and not something that I can go on and on about. We had to put in a lot of effort to work and get our jobs. But having said that, I was very impressed with the way my fellow students were placed, the ones who decided to stay back in Singapore. Within a matter of say 4 to 6 months max, everyone had found jobs. And that was primarily because it's a small open economy which is more impacted by a crisis than any other closed economy, because they're so dependent on the way the world functions. So it was impressive to find, and the school did help in a lot of ways. People got jobs at P&G, Johnson & Johnson, I believe one got a job at LVMH in the finance division. So it was very interesting and fascinating to see how people manage to find jobs and place themselves. Yes, today if I look back and see that there has definitely been a big career advantage to studying in Singapore, because if I want to now look at exploring international opportunities and if I want to move back to Singapore, it's that easy for me to get back. I remember I had interviewed with a private equity fund in Singapore as soon as I graduated, and this was through the school, and I had got shortlisted, but for certain personal reasons I had to come back to India. Today I wrote back to him and he was very prompt in replying and say, hey, you know what, I remember you, and let's connect when mid-June when I'm back from my travel, and we will take this up. So in terms of career mobility, I believe the school is ranked very high, and from personal experience, yes, it's easy to move back to a place like Singapore if you studied from there. So to speak a little bit about our placements, we have a career services office that works very hard to make sure that they get any and every opportunity possible for us. Having said that, it is difficult to kind of get, if you compare it to India, so it's not like, a place where companies come on campus and hire you. There's nothing like a day zero or a day one or a day two or anything like that. You have to go out, network, make opportunities available, and the school does its level best to create opportunities for you in terms of networking events, etc. But having said all of this, I'd like to reiterate and say it is a lot of own effort that you need to put in. You need to work towards getting your own placement. So I pursued my summer internship at KPMG Corporate Finance in Mumbai, and I got a pre-placement offer. And once I graduated, after taking a short sabbatical, I joined them as an associate. Yes, I do keep in touch with my friends, but from NUS, but I'm not an active alum primarily because I'm not in Singapore. But I do know there is a very active alumni activity cell that functions, and they have monthly drink sessions organized, and I get mailers for all that, and I wish I could just go attend it because it would be a good opportunity to connect with everyone. So unfortunately, at least as of now, there is a concept called the Bombay chapter and the Delhi chapter and the Bangalore chapter, which is functional in place, but it's not very active. So for instance, if you've got a faculty group that comes down to market NUS during, say, a QS MBA fair or something, then they'll connect with everybody in Bombay and everybody will show up largely. But do we meet on our own regularly? No, we don't meet as much as we should. Currently, I am doing exactly what I wanted to do when I passed out from my school, which was 10 years ago. I wanted to be an investment banker, and that's what I do. I work with KPMG Corporate Finance as an associate. But having experienced my NUS MBA and having been with so many interesting people out there, it sort of helped me open my mind up, and I'm ready to explore many opportunities going ahead. So Singapore as a city has been like a preparatory ground for me. It's prepared me to be able to live anywhere abroad. It's been a nice cushioned welcome because it's so convenient out there. It also has opened me up to dealing with people from across the world. And in terms of a professional, I've definitely become a lot more open, in terms of dealing with people from different cultures. So the biggest thing about my MBA was that it taught me what's out there in terms of competition, in terms of how efficient and how strong people are in different aspects of their personality, and also the cultural diversity. So that was the takeaway from my MBA. So if you're looking for a convenient place where you can only focus on your academics and yet explore the international option, and kind of sort of be at a home away from home, then definitely Singapore is the place for you to go, because it's a combination of fun, competition and aggressiveness, and yet laid backness in a lot of ways. So it's just convenient. The best thing about Singapore is its convenience and cleanliness and how good the infrastructure is. Everything is amazing. The government has left no stone unturned to make sure that everything is just spick and span. So overall, yes, absolutely no regrets on going to Singapore. I was always a little apprehensive because it's not, in America, it's not the tried and tested formula. But would I change it? No way. I would not exchange my MBA experience for anything. So yes, I definitely loved my MBA experience.